Oh, snap. What do we have here? Do we have somebody having a baby? Who's having a baby?
Somebody's having a baby, but it's not me.
And
it's not Rick.
Me.
So
it's me.
It's gotta be me. So
It's
we're
definitely you.
basically.
Yeah, it is ours.
You're right. Right.
Well, that's exciting news on this new Fringy Morsel. You didn't expect that, did you, everybody out there? But now you know Bethany and Smokey Bob Robert are having a little Smokey.
Little smoky baby.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're excited. That's fun. We love babies around here. Obviously, we've got 6 of them little critters running around. So we're very excited to get another baby. I know my wife can't wait to get her hands on it.
That's true.
I'm all set up already.
That's so great. So we wanted to talk this week about Obama. Have you guys seen this in the news? I know you guys have. I'm talking to the audience. The Obama case or mystery that's going on right now. I like calling it the Obama mystery because he's got his mansion out in what's it called? Martha's Vineyard. Mm-hmm. And in Martha's Vineyard, that's where all these rich people live. You know, that's where the Kennedys had a place. There are lots of people have a place out there. And
we have a place out there.
Yeah, I mean,
we just go sometimes in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, it's a rental,
right?
But anyway, he's got this $12 million mansion over there because presidents make that kind of money. Apparently, I mean, that's just what the house costs. That has nothing to do with what's in his bank account. But neither here nor there. So on his property, there is a body of water there where they like to paddleboard, apparently. And so his chef is out there paddleboarding, and there's another person out there paddleboarding. And they get a 911 call. The news hasn't reported that the 911 call is or who made the call, but they're not releasing that yet. And then there was another person paddleboarding, as I said, but they're not releasing that either. And then at first they said the Obamas weren't there, and now they're saying that they were there. So this is fun. What do you guys think about this?
It's so weird. It is such a weird story in general.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy knew how to swim, right? He was recording videos online, teaching people how to swim. I mean, that seems kind of weird.
Yeah, if you guys find that video, he's swimming in a pool, and he's wearing an Apple Watch. He doesn't show that until towards the end of the video, but he's swimming in a pool, and it's like hashtag survival skills. And he ends up swimming for like a half an hour. I think it's like 36 minutes or something like that. But he shows his watch at the end because it's timing his laps and all of that stuff. So this guy swam for half an hour. Like a half an hour.
And I read that he was found in only like 8 feet of water. It's not like a deep area.
Right.
That's why it's weird. Plus, where's his paddle boat? Or his paddleboard,
Yeah.
We have
ours attaches to our body.
Yes.
I mean, they Velcro onto you. I mean, you don't have to do that to ride it.
I mean, Robert lost the oar, but
he did sink our oar. He did.
That's neither here nor there.
Last weekend.
We digress.
So if this guy is out there paddleboarding, it's very likely that he's got his paddleboard attached to himself. Because when you fall off those things, you can zip them across the lake or whatever you're on. And so that's kind of a safety mechanism. You want to keep it close to you. And so he was found, when the divers found him, they found him, like Kristen said, not very far from in 8 feet of water, but only like 100 yards or something like that from the shore. Mm-hmm. And so he didn't have a paddleboard, and he was down at the bottom already. And the article that I read said that he had blunt force trauma to the head. Yeah.
That changes things.
Yeah. Right. So what is going on there?
Missing oar. That's probably what it is.
It's always blunt force trauma to the head.
Well, it's like, okay, if he fell off a paddleboard and hit his head on the paddleboard. That would do nothing. I've hit my head on a paddleboard. Like it's either they're like foam or air.
Remember?
Yes, I remember. I will always remember. It was great.
It was graceful.
Yeah. So you've got Michelle Obama and Barack Obama their people are saying that they weren't there, but then come to find out they were there.
So I saw this thing that said Obama's flee Martha's Vineyard. They're gone. They flew out earlier today with lots of luggage, said a source on the ground.
Like if a
crime happens on your property and you just
I mean, it hasn't even been decided probably whether it's a crime or not, but there's still, why would you leave directly after your chef dies? I mean, obviously you're the Obamas. If I'm going to be the devil's advocate, you're the Obamas, and it's a big story and it happened, and let's just say they're grieving and they want to just get away from the publicity and all that stuff that it's going to bring, maybe. But at the same time, there's going to be questions, right? I would think there's going to be questions from the police. So wouldn't you want to stay around and answer those questions to make sure they had all of the information they needed?
Right. Especially since this is their chef. I assume, had a good relationship with this man.
Oh, yeah.
I believe he started as a chef at the White House, and then when the Obamas left, he went with them. So they obviously had a good relationship, and the guy was married, I think.
Oh, yeah. There's pictures of him online with George Bush Jr. And, he was a sous chef at the White House. And when he was the Obama's chef, when they were at the White House, and when they left, they wanted to take him with them. And so they ended up taking him, and he's been with them ever since. He's been like a big part of their family. Michelle Obama said because she reached out today online and said that. But it's just weird story, especially with all of the things that we talk about and all of the corruption.
In the fringy vein.
Right.
Yeah. Getting back to the fringy universe, there's lots of speculation that can be made, but at the same time, we have to be careful not to jump too quickly to conclusions and assume things. We try to go by facts, but those are the facts that we just laid out so far that we've read on the internet. And if you can call the internet or news facts, I don't know. These are coming from
that's the hard part.
All kinds of people. So mainstream media, we all know, is the enemy of the people. And so we can assume that, there may be some lies, there may be some sketchy stuff going on, or the story isn't quite what they're saying it is. It's like 9 truths and a lie.
Yeah.
Like all of that stuff happened, but it was Obama that killed him. Like that's the part that they want to leave out, because that would be kind of a big deal. Now, I'm not saying that he did. I'm just saying like that would be something that one would want to leave out of the... Yeah. So let's speculate, because it's just fun. What
this is the speculation portion of the evening.
Yeah. What do the Obamas have to cover up or to hide?
I mean, with the obvious that Michelle was Michael. Is
what?
Michael? Mm-hmm.
Michelle Obama's a man?
She is.
I mean, I've seen some pretty compelling evidence.
Yeah. If anybody hasn't seen that Ellen video where she was on the Ellen show, best friends seemingly with Ellen on there multiple times, but they're doing this dance and she's in these she's always wearing fairly loose clothes.
Slacks.
Typically slacks, but you see the ding-a-ling swinging in the wind.
Yeah.
I mean... Yeah, Joan Rivers came out and said that she is like, don't be silly. We know that she's trans, and then
because
she
somebody
died
asked
that next week.
A reporter asked what was it? Something about when America was going to get the first gay president or whatever, gay person in the White House, and she was like, "Well, don't be ridiculous. There's already one in there. Like everybody knows it." And then, she goes in for an endoscopy and ends up dying.
Super simple procedure for those of you non-medical folks out there.
Not a huge deal. And she ends up dying there. Like, is it a coincidence?
Well, and all those crazy autists are on the internet searching deep and wide for evidence of this. Because once somebody says it, it's kind of like some things are said on the internet for shock value, and right. In which case you should probably dig deeper, and that would be my advice. That's what I've learned over the years, because I've shared some things in the past that have come out to be not true. And then I'm just like, oh, and then you have to kind of go back and apologize or make that right, or at least you should. But the thing is sometimes we jump to conclusions too quickly. There's a saying out there that's like, having information is good, but having too little information is terrible, because you don't have enough information. So we can't jump to conclusions with all of this, but there is a lot of evidence that I think a jury of her or his peers would compellingly argue and say, yes, guilty, you are a man, for sure. I mean,
I even saw like a doctor talking about structure-wise, had her measurements, like had everything, and said, this is not how a woman's measurements would be, your head in comparison to your shoulders and all this stuff. Like it's, I mean, some of these people have been studying bones and structures their whole lives. Like you can tell a difference.
Yeah. The skeletal markers.
Yeah.
It's a dead giveaway. I mean, it's the same thing with those memes that are going around the internet with like, you can be trans all you want, but when the archaeologists dig up your bones years from now, they're gonna check your pelvis to see if you're a man or a woman. That's really, you can cut off whatever you want or add whatever you want, take as much estrogen or whatever you want. It's not going to matter when they dig you up.
Right.
Yep. Exactly.
So, I know it's a reaction for people that maybe have never heard this before, that Michelle Obama is a man, Michael Obama. And I get that. I get it wholeheartedly. Big Mike.
No.
When you first hear these things, you kind of step back and be like, what? But that's your opportunity as a human being to say, okay, I'm going to look into that, or to say, nah, I don't believe that. Or no, it's not. Like I was thinking about that the other day. That's not an adequate answer to you saying something. Like if I say the earth is flat and you say, no, it's not, I'm like, okay, like where's your body of evidence? And they're like, well, you've already learned it all in school, right? For your whole life. But I'm like, okay, but I've also learned a whole other body of evidence. And unless you've looked into that body of evidence, then we actually have nothing to talk about or debate, because now there's so much information. So like when we say Michelle Obama is a man and we say it so definitively, we're saying that because we've done all of that research. We've done that. We've found the body of evidence, and it's pretty compelling. There's pictures of them back in the day when they were just hanging out as young people, and he's very much a man, very much a man. I mean, there was somebody on the internet that found that he was registered as a man to vote in Illinois before 2008. And it was only after for the 2008 election that she changed it to female. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have also seen that little video. It was Obama. I think it was when he was still president. He was getting interviewed. I want to say maybe it was like the BBC, but he had like a slip up where he was like, yeah, me and Mike, I'm Michelle. Like he was about to say Michael. Times. You could tell that he's done it a couple different times, but I mean, you have to realize that these people are programmed. They've been through the MK Ultra, the Monarch programming. They are a slave in essence to the elite, and their programming sometimes does have breakdowns or, glitches, and they're still humans.
I mean, Obama, they knew that Obama was going to be president. He had been groomed for that position for years.
Yep.
I mean, want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it anywhere and everywhere. You can even earn money all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works.
Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today.
Then you can go ahead and distribute your podcast to Spotify and anywhere else podcasts are heard.
Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. And when you want to take the conversation with your fans to the next level, Q&A polls are the best way to get them talking.
With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions.
And best of all, it's totally free with no catch. We've been using Spotify for Podcasters, and we highly recommend you give it a try. Download Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters and get started.
The guy has been placed into that position to do exactly what he did.
He had like an acting coach working with him on how to behave presidentially.
Oh, yeah. Right. There's a very well-known actor out there. You guys would all know him. I can't remember his name. I'll try to remember to attach that video if you guys can remind me. But yeah, it's pretty compelling. This guy's saying that, there's this actor that taught him, lived with him, like hung out with him all the time and taught him how to be presidential. And that's why when people say, well, Obama was just like so presidential and Trump was just not, you're like, well, Obama was groomed for that position and he was given acting lessons. Trump's just being real. And he's a businessman. He never has apologized for being a businessman. He said he's going to just come in and make these deals. That's it. That's what he does. The art of the deal. He wrote a book about it. So I think the Obamas have a couple things to hide. The fact that he ordered a bunch of pizza to the White House.
Into Pizzagate. I know we've talked about it a little bit here and there, but Pizzagate, they were a big part of that.
So if you guys believe in the sound of freedom, you guys believe that child trafficking is happening, and you believe that the pedophilia symbols are true and correct, then you have to understand that Obama is part of it. Biden is part of it. Pelosi, like all of these people are part of it. The Clintons. And that's another thing. Kristen found something about the Clintons that was very interesting because Anthony Weiner was just on another podcast, and he's the guy that was married to Huma Abedin. That was Hillary Clinton's aide. And so Huma Abedin and Hillary Clinton were in that really nasty video, Frazzle Drip. You guys can look that up. Don't watch it. Just find out what it is. I think I maybe have mentioned it on the podcast before, but for those of you that didn't hear that, it's basically Hillary Clinton and Huma Abedin being very violent with a child and actually going to extremes. Like the police officers that watched the video were throwing up. So this is a video that Anthony Weiner had on his laptop. And it was under a file called insurance. And so when the police officers arrested him for what he did, which was reveal himself to a child, they got his laptop as part of the raid and everything. And in there, the insurance file, and then they found that. And so Huma Abedin and the Clintons and Anthony Weiner are all closely tied. And so he was just on that podcast to build that context. He was just on that podcast talking about the Hillary Clinton or the Clinton's body count, which, a lot of people, you're not allowed to talk about the Clinton's body count, but it's true. There is a body count that are connected to the Clintons, and it's like everybody around them. And like how many coincidences before it becomes mathematically impossible that they don't have something to do with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so he was like vehemently like, no, that's not, Hillary Clinton's body count, whatever. You guys are so dumb. What is funny that just a couple weeks later, this stuff's going on with Obama and all of that. They're like putting child trafficking in your mind. They're preparing you for child trafficking. They're preparing you for the enormity of what's about to come out.
Right. And I don't think people dispute the fact that human trafficking is happening, but I think people don't grasp the enormity, like you said, like how high up this goes and all the people that are involved.
and it's hard to hear and it's hard to stomach, and but you once you start putting all the pieces together, you begin to build this mosaic of evil that you're just like, I didn't know. And we talk about that all the time on the podcast. Is this what is the devil doing in our world right now, and how is he corrupting and doing all of that? And that's what these people are. They're Satanist. They worship Baal. We've talked about that. Abortions, child sacrifice, all of those different things. They've been doing that, but they're trying to brace the public for it, because there's a lot of people out there, and maybe some of you know them, your family members or your friends, that they couldn't handle the level of evil that these people are about to be revealed to have been doing. And so maybe talk to your family.
Sort of makes you understand a little bit more why they hated Trump so much. Like, I'm not a huge Trump supporter. Do not mistake what I'm saying. But of the options, he was the best. So, but anyway, it helps you realize how they hated him, because he's not part of this club. Like, he's not, if you think back, Obama, Bush Jr., Clinton, Bush Sr., they're all part of this club, and Trump's not part of it because he doesn't want to be. They're going to try to destroy him. It makes more sense.
Yeah, there's so much going on out there right now that if it's not a coordinated thing at this point, it doesn't make sense any other way. Like, it's beginning to come together in a way that is like, oh, that's what we were saying about Clinton. The Clintons Kristen found that the Clintons had a chef that died as well. So that's another interesting piece to the puzzle. We don't really know quite where it fits in the puzzle, but just another piece to think about, that the Clintons also had that.
When you realize, too, that these people, and this is a hard trigger warning subject, but when you realize that they are sacrificing people to gain something, we know that the devil runs this realm, this world, this is his domain, and he does reward these Satanists, these people, for doing certain things, such as sacrificing humans. They, these elite Satanist people are gaining something from these deaths around them. And that's a hard concept to understand. And it's tough to explain too, but when you know. It's one of those things. It's like,
well, here was my weird theory of the day. I was texting Rick earlier and I said, what if this chef was a sacrifice for Michelle Obama to run for president?
Which is a very plausible, in my opinion, very, very plausible idea.
Knowing how they work, we've seen the system. We know a little bit of how they work. You've got a African vice president. What's the next best thing? It would be an African female president. We've already got the vice president done, so now we just need to get the president.
And she's already so loved.
Right, and people love the Obamas.
She has 2 podcasts. You guys know that? She's got a Spotify exclusive podcast, and she has a Audible exclusive podcast. And that one's called, like, Into the Light or something like that, like something weird, something very new age-ish. So you're no, yeah.
A day in the life of a trans.
Yeah, it's maybe
There's
that's
just
what it's called.
A couple extra steps in the bathroom before you wear those loose trousers, Michelle.
Yeah,
a couple more things you got to tack down.
Yeah, get a banana hammock or something. Like, come on, man, conceal.
But are they doing that to make fun of us? These idiots are never going to catch on that I'm a man. Is this like? I don't know. So many questions.
Well, and that's the thing is, you look at some of these trans people, these ones that are, real trans people that are like dressing up as a woman and looking nice and all of those different things. Not the ones that are just like, I just want to be a woman type thing, but the ones that dress up nice and actually want to be a girl, put on a wig, like all of those things, like Dylan Mulvaney, as an example. Dylan Mulvaney wants to be a pretty woman. And that's great if that's what Dylan wants to do. But when you see Michelle Obama, you're like, wow, that's actually a pretty woman. You know, they've done a really good job of making her look like a woman. And so you kind of get it in your head, but then you're looking at, like we were talking about, the bone structure and the wiener flopping and all of those other things. Did
you just say wiener flopping?
I don't know.
I said ding-along, ding-a-ling.
Ding-along?
Ding-along-ling. We don't know.
I think so. All of those.
Oh my gosh.
But you see all those signs and you're like, yeah, that's good stagecraft is basically what it is. Mm-hmm. It's good stagecraft. They can put on the TV or in pictures or whatever, anything that they want. They can
and it's create. Like, you know, when you see like Alec Baldwin in this video and he's like, I'm so sorry, you know, this like stupid video that he puts out. And I'm like, these people are actors. Like, do you understand?
Yeah.
Like, he can summon tears like that. Like, what?
Oh, yeah.
These people are acting. Michelle and Barack for sure have acting coaches.
Yeah. And their children aren't even theirs.
Right. I think they took the talent with them when they left.
Yeah.
There's all of the internet too. Like, those children aren't even theirs. There's pictures of their parents and they look way more like
pregnant.
them. Yep. No,
and then she came out and said, yes, they were surrogate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, just put the pieces together and eventually you'll find out that Michelle Obama is a man, and then you'll get online and you'll find that song that somebody made about it, and it's hilarious. It's hilarious.
There's a lot of hilarious things about it.
Oh, I'm telling you. But the grossest thing about it is that that's what they're teaching to our children. Mm-hmm. That's what their agenda is the satanic agenda, which Baphomet is very much about transgender, duality. Which we've talked about, duality. And so to be able to put a gay president in without anybody knowing about it, without any of these Christians getting to know about it that would oppose it and that would not want it to happen, they didn't even tell them, you know. So if that's not election fraud, I don't know what is. Like, who cares about Trump for a second? If there was any collusion or election fraud or whatever, which we know that there wasn't, it's being proven. But all of the stuff with him, like, where's his birth certificate? You know, where's all of the documents with her being a man and then being a woman? Like, all of these things were held back from the American public. Would the American public have voted for Barack Obama if they knew he was a gay man and that Michelle Obama was Michael? And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. And I'm not saying that they wouldn't, but I'm saying they weren't given the opportunity. They weren't giving enough, all of the information.
Right. Yep.
And that's election fraud, in my opinion. So
and it's just like the dishonesty of it is, I think, what's so irritating. Like, if you want to go from man to woman, go for it, but like, don't be dishonest about it. Like, just I don't know. Sometimes I think it would have helped their campaign to be more open about it. Maybe she'll come out as that though, and that'll be like, woo,
part of my thought process. I mean, part of like the devil, how you think about the devil working. If he can get a man to lust after a woman that's actually a man, because like you said, Michelle Obama is very well put together, beautiful in a lot of people's eyes. That's his goal, right? Like, if he can get this Christian man to vote for her because she's a good woman, she's this, when in reality she's a man, and they're then lusting after this man that they don't know is a man. I mean, it's all about, the devil is the king of confusion, right?
It's all about chaos.
It's such a disgusting world that we live in. But when you realize this is the world we live in, I feel like you should be living differently as a Christian.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's what the kingdom is all about, right? The kingdom of heaven is about letting God rule us. You know, I mean, like, through his ambassador, Jesus, who he chose to send to be our ambassador. Like, in his wisdom, Jesus said, you're just supposed to follow after me. Like, when God established Israel. He was establishing the laws and all of that stuff. But before that, there were men of faith like Abraham, because the laws were written on their heart. And they knew that. And before Abraham was Adam, and he was in the garden, and he was given everything that he needed to be a righteous man because it was written on his heart. And he didn't know any better, but he had a choice to make, and he made the wrong choice, and he had to take the long way. He had to take the scenic route to get back to God. But that's what we all have to do now. We all have to take the scenic route to get back to God. But that doesn't mean that that the journey shouldn't be taken just because it's too hard to figure out. Like, we all have to do our part, do our own research, figure out that God's kingdom is what he wants us to be bringing here. They talk a lot in New Age, you've heard in some of our episodes about, as above, so below. And the reason that it is that way is because it really is that way, but it's not in the way that they say it is, right? You have heaven and you have earth. And in the Garden of Eden, they were like a Venn diagram overlapping. And so when you overlap heaven and earth, that's where God lives, on his mountain, on his garden mountain. You can read all this in the Unseen Realm book. Michael Heiser does a really good job of explaining all of that, because that's where a king lives, right? In a castle or in a tower, right? And all of his people come to him. And so the Garden of Eden wasn't the only place on earth. Earth wasn't the Garden of Eden. There was the Garden of Eden. There was other places on earth. So that's where God was, and that's where heaven and earth overlapped. And that's what the Great Commission is for us, is to spread the Eden philosophy, that heaven and earth mentality where God is our king, throughout the whole world. That's the whole message of the gospel. That's the whole message of the Bible, is trust in Jesus because he's your advocate. Yes, it's about salvation. Great. But it's also about living a good standard of life that reflects who images who God is. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be God's image on the earth. So, wow, that got real preachy real quick. But
we was in church.
Anyway, we hope you guys enjoyed that discussion. Do your research, as always.
Yes, this story is still unfolding, so there's so much we don't know at this point. So send us stuff. Send us your articles, what you have. Like, we're still formulating an opinion, but keep your eyes open to this situation, maybe in a different way.
Yeah, because we already know that the media lies to us. So dig deeper. Yeah, do your own research. We'll always tell you that. Don't take our word for it. Do your own research, because take what we say and check it. Fact check us. That's fine. We don't care. If we get something wrong, let us know, and we'll try to correct it. Anyway, with that said, you guys have a good night, and we will see you on the next one. Bye.